Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Joseph Clough, and yes, this is episode 800. Now, I'm super excited to be here with you because, look, being 800 episodes, all for free to hopefully support you, almost probably was at least 400 hours, or at least 300 hours, going up maybe into the 400 hours of free content to really hopefully give you the support that you need for free in every single way. So today, this is being broadcasted live on YouTube, and we thought we'd talk about how to kind of let go, get insight, get wisdom, get clarity, and to make the changes we want, and also to really get disciplined in who we are and what we're doing. You see, when I first started out this podcast, it was way back. And to be honest, I had no idea what would happen, but I had a desire. And I wanted to be able to speak my voice, and hopefully someone would listen to it, other than, say, my dad or myself checking on the stats. But one thing I knew that I had to do was to let go of my fears and my worries and doubts when it came to doing the podcast. Because even though I was doing hypnosis, it was a whole new thing, putting my voice out there into the world. But it was on my heart, it was in my desires, and I didn't know how big or if it would be even successful, but I wanted to do it because I felt like it was right. So I began on that journey of developing the podcast, like buying all the equipment, buying all the platform software, like where they host everything. And I just wanted to be able to invest in that and to get my work out there. And what I found really interesting is that the fears and the doubts I had that I didn't know enough were absolutely all illusion. And the reason why I say that, the chances are you may have a goal and a dream that you would like to achieve. But most of the time we think we need to know more, or we don't know enough, or what people think of us. But what I began to realize on this journey is that doing the work creates the wisdom. It creates the learning. You don't know everything until you start to apply what you do know already. In fact, we were just teaching a NLP practitioner weekend where we certify you to become a hypnotist, hypnotherapist, NLP practitioner, pretty much like a coach, right? And a hypnotist. And one of the things that we kind of cover is that most of the practitioners sometimes go, I need to know more. I need to practice more. I need to go on another training or read more, practice more of the processes before I start seeing real clients. But the truth of the matter is you don't. Just like your goal and dream. Yeah, you've got to know some stuff. You've got to have the foundation. But the passion and the purpose is the vital thing that you really need to achieve a goal. And then the discipline in just going all out on that, giving up those old expectations, what you think you should know, because you only really know when you start to apply in the doing. You see, most of the people just have thoughts. They have these wishes and they have these dreams, but in that becomes the equal resistance of the fear of judgment, the fear of being a failure, the fear of not being successful, not knowing enough. But I'm telling you today, if I bought in to my own fears, worries, and doubts, then I would not have done this podcast to this date. And I have been consistent with it because I know that every time I do it, I am learning myself. I don't know everything about self-development. No one really does. So you've got to get out there and recognize the true learning is when you're actually doing the work. Even if we take the analogy of like going to university, say you become a doctor or something. Well, if you were to ask that doctor, did they learn most of the stuff in university or actually on the job, the years of experience? I'm going to guess they got the real applicable learnings by actually working with people. So when you have a goal and dream, you gain the wisdom, you gain the insight by applying what you presently know and build upon that foundation. And that causes you to let go of the fear. Because ultimately, your job is just to suck less at doing that thing, right? Usually we go, we've got to get perfect, we've got to be this and that. No, just suck less at what you're doing right now. Every day, make an improvement. Every day, go, how can I just learn from this? How can I learn from doing the things? And that builds the confidence, that builds a certainty. You see, the small steps create the big leaps. The small steps that you take will be the big leaps. You see, some people may say, and I'm not saying this is true, but when they see 800 episodes, they think, oh my goodness, that's way too big. Like that's like just a huge milestone because there's 800 of them. But in honesty, it was just doing the small steps that led me to get to that place. Usually we think we've got to make these huge strides, but it's a consistency. It's the small things that you do. It's the things that you do when people aren't looking. In other words, when other people are out, everyone is going socializing sometimes, or watching Netflix, watching Amazon Prime, going on social media. You have the time to go, actually, I'm going to dedicate my goal, my dream, by putting the time into it, by doing the small things. That's where you get the wisdom and the clarity. And of course, when you do that, when you make your goal and your dream bigger than your fear, you will then let go of the fear. Because there's no comparison, there's no negotiation. If you can imagine some weighing scales, right? Like usually we have a weight of anxiety, a weight of the fear of what could happen and all those things. Well, when anxiety is there, you've got to reflect on the contrary. You've got to put more intensity on why you should be doing this, why you want that goal. Because you don't want just the goal. Let's just say you want to earn $10,000 in the next week or month. You don't want the $10,000. You heard me say this before. You want what the $10,000 will give you. You don't want just to be confident. You want what the confidence will give you in a career, in a relationship. You don't want to let go of the imposter syndrome solely. You want what the freedom of the imposter syndrome will actually get you, a deeper connection with your self-certainty. So when you go ahead and think about all the reasons why it's right to do the thing that you're fearful of, when you go, it's going to get me these 100 things. It's going to change and impact my life in 100 different ways. It's going to change other people's lives in 100 different ways if I achieve this goal of mine. When you stack up all of those, and then you reflect on the thing that is stopping you, you go, there's no way I'm letting this thing stop me. There's no way I'm going to let that fear that was programmed into me based on previous experiences when probably I was so young that I was unable to understand it because my unconscious mind was under stress, so it made a limiting decision that we're not worthy, deserving, or good enough to achieve that goal, and therefore those other experiences just built upon the belief of not being enough. But when you stack up all the reasons why it's a no-brainer, why it's so right to achieve that goal, it will create the discipline to make it happen. I'm a big believer on focusing on the one or maybe two things which will make the difference. So you don't need to know everything. You don't have to acquire more information. You need wisdom, right? You need wisdom. That wisdom will create clarity. But it comes from the action of doing. That creates the knowing. You see, you can keep on consuming products to make you feel happy or to sedate ourselves from what's really happening about our issue. You can buy personal development programs or ebooks or keep on listening to another 800 episodes. Sometimes you don't need more information. I believe you got everything you need. It's about the application of that information that develops wisdom. The act of doing creates that wisdom. So don't get tied up on all the, I need to learn more, I have to do this, I have to do that to be able to finally do that. That will only ever keep you feeling stuck. You'll forevermore just procrastinate. it will actually make you feel worse, because you'll never feel that inner fulfillment. You'll never get that inner contentment. And the reason being is you're searching for something outside of yourself. That's what that new information is. You're trying to find external things to make you feel good about moving forward. But the truth is, you don't need more things, whether it be materialistic things. Look, I've got nothing against money or nice things, but they add to you. They don't fulfill you. They give you gateways to freedom and security or experiences and all those things, but they don't replace the feeling of not being enough, not being deserving, not being capable when it comes to that goal and dream. If I bought into my own limiting beliefs, if I bought into what people were saying, I've said this ages ago, but one of my best friends at the time said, this was before the podcast, but do you really think you're ever going to make any money being a hypnotist? If I bought into that suggestion, that's right, I'm not going to do it, I would not be where I am today when it comes to this podcast, because it allowed me to create these free audios to people. And I don't know if I said it in the beginning of the podcast, it may have been before the podcast episode on the live stream, but we've done 15 million downloads and views collectively on just the podcast and on the YouTube. Now, it doesn't mean 50 million people, because people repeat a lot of the audios, and I like that because you're ingraining your unconscious mind with the hypnosis sessions. But ultimately, that would not be there. And I'm not saying that from ego. I'm saying that because I don't want you to buy into the fear of not going for what you want. You see, we only have one life. So why allow that fear, doubt, and worry, that inner critic, or what other people expect of you, to get in the way of your precious life that can be so uniquely beautiful by you acting upon that knowledge to create the wisdom, to give you those foundations, to make an impact in the world. You see, if you've got a goal and dream, usually it's going to be good for you, it's going to be good for others, and it's going to be good for the planet. For most people, if you're listening to this, I like to think you're a good-hearted person, and the goals and dreams you have are not just for you. For some people, it's to make an impact in the world. Even if it's you to be free of anxiety, it means you're a better partner. It means you're a better mother. It means you're a better husband or brother or sister or son or daughter or pet owner. You being free of your issue makes the world a different place. You being in this world makes the universe uniquely different. And I think that's very important and special to know. So why should we play small? Why should we buy into the fears that were programmed into us? Why should we buy into what that teacher said when we were younger? Why should we buy into what that ex-partner said when they were a narcissistic, overbearing person trying to control you? By doing that, you're giving your power away to people who aren't even maybe in your life anymore. They may not even be alive anymore. But we tend to replay the stories of what people think, and that's not true, or it shouldn't be your truth. You can allow it as a momentum. You can allow it as like, I'm going to show the world what I am going to do, how powerful I can be, how I can override this fear. Because the other aspect to this, which makes it good to yourself and good to others and the world, which is ecology in my perception, which is when you make your life happier, where you go for your dreams and therefore you are enjoying life, even if you're having to go through the hard work of just doing it, right? Like, it takes time. But if it's adding more value to your life, everyone else will change in your environment. And you never know, you may be giving unconscious permission to those people in your life, those that you know and those that just observe you from a distance, in the most amazing way. You become the example of what can be done. And I see that very much. Say, for example, it doesn't matter if you don't have children, because I don't either, but if you are a parent and you're carrying on the same stories of being an imposter or not going for that dream, if you're saying, you can do it to your child, but you're feeling the anxiety when you think about it yourself. Well, that's the story that you're carrying on and potentially passing down. And there's no greater motivation to go, I refuse to pass down the same story which is passed down to me. Instead, I'm going to do what is right. I'm going to do whatever it takes. And I don't care what's coming my way. I don't care how big are the storms coming. I don't care how much noise there is from my environment or from society. Because if it's on my heart and I want to do it, I want that dream, that's where I'll get the wisdom to do it. So forget about getting a ton more knowledge by buying more things to help you. Sometimes, yes, good. But if you feel like that's the only thing that's stopping you, do that, then the chances are you need to do the more inner work. You got to get more self-certain within yourself and the thing that's going to add to that. You got to have the thinking and the doing. When you have the thinking, as in being inspired, knowing why it's important, how it's going to make a change in your life, other people's life, good for self, good for others, and good for the world. And then you start to act upon it with massive inspired action and conviction. With the knowledge that you have, you will then get the wisdom that you really, really desire. That's when you let go of the dread and the fear. And if you feel the fear and the dread, utilize it. It's energy. It's just mischanneled. It hasn't been worked out. It hasn't been processed. Well, if you start to act upon what is right, you are processing that negative energy. You're telling that inner critic, actually, there's another way. So when that voice is saying, who are you to do X, Y, Z? When that internal critic of yours is saying, there's no way you can make it, use it as like, I'm going to show you. And then when you do that, I believe that voice will diminish and disappear. There's something actually, and I can't quite remember, I think it is from Kahuna, which is like a Hawaiian tradition of Huna. And they would describe it as like the little devil on the shoulder, where that internal critic, the devil on the shoulder in this metaphor, is like prodding you. You can't do this. You can't do this. You can't do this. But when you get to the point of going, do you know what? I'm sick and tired. I'm just going to let this go. I'm going to do it because it's right. It's almost like the metaphor changes of that little kind of prodding devil on the shoulder to go, I was just testing to see how badly and how much you wanted this. And since you've showed the commitment, it disappears. So sometimes, in other words, our greatest fear and our greatest resistance can be our greatest awakening in doing what is right. So if it is getting louder, if the storm is getting bigger, maybe it's pushing you to do the right thing. You see, sometimes when we think of even illness, and I was talking about this over some of the training that I was just running, is that, say, for example, people go, well, cancer causes death. No, cancer can create a wake-up call to live life. But they've been so sedated and so depressed and all stressed that they go, do you know what? I'm going to start living life. And it's a total change of attitude because they're grateful for what they can do now. So reframe yourself. That fear, that worry, that anxiety, that self-doubt could be the prod that you need to go, I am done with it. I'm going to let go. I'm going to apply to do the things because that information will now be turned into the wisdom. That's where you start to trust your own intuition. That's where you get to feel the love because you're coming from the place of purpose, passion, and doing what is right. I think I said this earlier, but I believe it's your birthright to know that you are loved. I believe it's your birthright to know that you're worthy, deserving, and capable. I believe it's your birthright to be able to achieve the goals that you have. Yes, not freely, in terms of like, oh, I don't deserve, or I deserve it, I'm not going to do anything. Yes, you got to put the action in other words, but if it's on your heart, and you really, really mean in making a difference, I believe that is your birthright to go for. And by go for, putting it into action, turn those wounds into wisdom. Think about that. The emotional scars that we have, we can wear them proudly because we went through life and came through the other side. We're still here. but turn those scars and those wounds into wisdom, because you can learn so much from them. You can learn to grow and be better because of them. And that is why I say, I'm so thankful for my friends saying that. It's not, can you even make money as a hypnotist? Will it ever work? I'm so thankful for my blushing. I'm so thankful for my anxiety. I'm so thankful for the belief that I had of not being worthy, deserving enough. Because if I did not have it, I would have just probably been coasting in life. But that pain that I had, the dread in my chest and my stomach, the heartbeat, the blushing, the anxiety, the self-consciousness made me wake up and go, is this all I am? Or am I more than this? And I chose, well, I'm going to be more. I'm going to show the past. I'm going to show that part of me what is possible. And that is a learning that I start to apply into my life. That creates the discipline. Because within the discipline, it creates you the freedom to live life on your terms. So with that, I hope you enjoyed this episode. And I look forward to speaking to you on a future one. Just do what has to be done, because you are worth it. And whatever you think you are always more. So with that, I'll speak to you soon. Many thanks and goodbye.